So, are there any conflicts of interest to declare? If there is, please fill out our conflict of interest forms and give them to Diane. And now we're on item number 4, new business. So we have a presentation by Quad New Brunswick, and we'll ask you to come up and do the presentation.
I stand here, I stand there.
They're all good there,
If I stand here, I might have problems because it's a little
Move it
far
closer.
away. So I
There
think
you go.
I'm just moving here. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor for me to be here. We kind of meet all the municipalities in New Brunswick that ask of us to do them a presentation on the possibilities to give access to ATVs or side-by-sides on your streets. So we've had a few workshops in the past, and tonight is the proper moment for us to sell our product. And you'll see through the presentation, we're not talking about streets in the presentation, we'll be talking about the economic impact and other stuff. So if we go to the next slide, it's just a little profile of our of the club here. This is the Alberta County Trailblazers and Quad NB. So I have to announce myself. My name is Jacques Wallet. You will notice I'm not perfectly bilingual, so my first language is French. You will notice it. So sometimes I might misuse some words. So if I do, just raise your hand and correct me. So this is the area of the Alberta County Trailblazers. All the ATV clubs in the province are under the umbrella of Quad NB, which is under the umbrella of DNR, the National Resources. So we have 1,551 members. That was in 2022. This club is among the top 3 clubs of the province. 5,405 members in this region here, which is Region 8, that was in 2022. The economic impact for the club, just the club, $21 million. And I dare anyone to prove me wrong. You have a way of calculating it that makes us comfortable in saying that this is a number. So the regional economic impact is $60 million. The provincial economic impact in 2022 was evaluated to $458 million, based on the 58,000 quads registered last reported by Service New Brunswick. So those numbers don't include tourism activities or GDP, and 75% of our members are between 45 and 60 years of age. There's a French mistake there, I apologize, with a revenue averaging at $85,000. So the next slide. We're just talking about the membership. So you see our arrow is always growing. This federation is and not the federation, this power sports is the largest growing power sport in North America, okay? So the impact is there's always a sustainable growth. It's throughout the province, throughout the country, and throughout North America. So if we go to the next slide, our objective here is to obtain access to points of services, mostly establish a connectivity with North Neighbor Club, because right now there's no connectivity. So this club is kind of stuck in its circle, limited to just a few clubs around it. So what we want to do is to connect to other clubs north. That club connects to other clubs north, meaning that certain time in a period, once we get access to those connectivities and to the club, the neighboring club, this means that a lot more people will be able to come here and to have access to the clubs in southern part of the province and vice versa. So our role also through Quad NB is to make sure that all those accesses are there safely, and we manage them with the proper signage. So there's a lot you'll see in next week's presentation with the what we call them the trail police. You'll see it's a lot larger than just Quad NB. So it was proven that any new connection of trail or in addition to points of services increase the membership and brings in new enthusiasts and tourists. The next slide. Okay, we'll skip that one because usually I show you where the connectivities are missing. So the Off-Road Vehicle Act states that a municipality may enact bylaws subject to the approval of the minister, designating highways or parts thereof along or across with which off-road vehicles may be driven, and B, regulating or prohibiting the use of off-road vehicles. That's in Article 37. 37.2, a municipality may enforce bylaws enacted under subsection 1 by the imposition of penalties not exceeding $100 for each offense. So as you can see, this is allowed by public safety and Department of Transportation. What we need to do is to have a bylaw from the municipalities. That's the first step. We'll see the steps further on. So those are the municipalities that are already giving access to quads in New Brunswick. So you see Bathurst, we say 2 additions, there's a third one being added right now. Beldoon, it's the same thing. When you see those crosses, this means that those municipalities have given us access to points of services or to make a connection, but now they won't open all their streets to locals, not necessarily the tourists, but to the locals, like as you are proposing to do here. Then you have Blackville, Bouctouche, which is Grand Bouctouche, Caracat, Cape Palais, Chipman, Dalhousie, Edmundston, Fredericton Junction. Where you see those crosses there is the municipalities that give access to all their streets. So then you have Kedgewick, you have Petit Rocher, you have Nigadoo that give access to all their streets. And we keep asking them, every time I go meet a municipality, I ask them, the police force, do you have problems? If you have problems, can you report them to us? They say, no. We do have some yahoos, but it's the same yahoos that were there before, and it's the same yahoos that would still be there if we would not give access to the ATVs. So you see, we have all those municipalities that give access to ATVs, and many of them are looking forward to give more access, because the merchants knock on the door of the councils and say, we'd like to have them too. Okay, next slide. Municipalities supporting access request of a club, so then you still have the list of Blackville, Beldoon, as I mentioned. You have the whole list there that you can refer to, and where you see those stars waiting for the final bylaw approval from DPS or highway usage permit from DTI. So the next slide. In progress, we have Belle Bay, Beau-Rivage, East Charlotte, Kedgewick. Still again, they want to add some other streets. Rivière-du-Nord. I'll be honest, the Rivière-du-Nord, I just got the message this morning that they were rejecting the request, but we just need to sit down and review. We did the same thing here. We sat down, we reviewed our request, and then we had to work to another plan B. And most of the time, plan B is always accepted, because we have to sit down with the municipalities. We propose, and you have the right to come back to us and say, we're ready to accept something, but it has to be different from the initial application. So this is what's happening with the Rivière-du-Nord. And then you have Nouvelle-Arcadie, Grand Bouctouche, Beau-Rivage, Elsipogtog, First Nation, Five Rivers, Salisbury is on the list, which is in progress, and Shediac. Shediac should be a little crossover because they're already getting access, but they want to add some new streets as requested by some businesses. Next slide. So the advantages to support quad development, new revenues for businesses, $50 per stop to restaurant, and between, that rose out a little bit, now it's between $40 and $50 of gas. If I want to fill it, I have a side-by-side, and if I want to fill it, right now I have a Mitsubishi Mirage, and it's costing me more to fill the side-by-side than it's costing me to fill a little car. So you see, when we stop at a gas station or a restaurant or so, easily we spend, that was the numbers of 2021. In 2023, I would say that we spend easily $125 per stop, okay? And usually we have 2 stops a day in different locations. And I have to add to this, the major advantage for the ATVs compared to snowmobiling, ATVs don't travel fast. So they spend more money within a shorter distance, okay? So we will travel 120 kilometers in one day, but a snowmobiler can travel that in 1 hour, or 1 hour and a half. That's the big difference. So if we're traveling here, we're traveling through Salisbury, chances are that we spend a lot more money than any other sports are high. So this is something to be considered also. So the average spending, as I mentioned, $120 per organized. That's an organized rally. It's not a tourism rally, because those are mostly local. We are a 4-season product. Down here, you don't benefit too much of snowmobile industry as we do up north. You don't have snow here. So in winter time, you have the opportunity to bring in business from the ATVs, that you can't benefit from the snowmobilers as much as we do up north. Every new access creates an increase in membership and enthusiasts, leisure development for your citizens, increases economic impact without major investment from the businesses benefiting of this industry. A return on the investment for the province, an increase in sales tax, revenues, and all this stuff. So this club has benefited of a $280-some thousand to redeck a bridge, and that was given to a local company. So you see the money that comes in here stays here. So the next slide. The advantages to support quad development. New revenues for businesses, $60 per stop, as I mentioned, between 30 and 50. I think, yeah, this is, can you skip that one? It's there twice, but we'll just avoid it. Advantages, that's the following. Quadding is more than a job creator. The off-road vehicle industry dynamizes the municipal economy and plays in favor of a public circulation. The network's interconnectivity of the trails allows the link of different regions to have people discover remote areas, and also, furthermore, enriches the outdoor leisures as camping, hunting, and fishing. If off-road vehicle attracts new visitors, it will also consolidate a local and regional patronage and fortify an existing network. For Quad NB, there is no doubt on the necessity to pursue its request to maintain the development of this industry. The municipalities that refuse our traffic will be left behind and stand watching the ones that open their streets to move a step ahead of them. So if we as Quad NB, if we want to move forward to continue developing our industry, we need the municipalities. The concerns, we can't avoid them, okay? Some people, when we do have the public presentations, you will hear this, and it's always the same speech that we hear everywhere. There was an article published 2 years ago, and we've seen in many municipalities, people are still using that report. As Mr. Trump would say it's a fake report because it's based on figures that were taken in the western part of the country, and it's not necessarily relating to our province here. So you will hear that. So the concerns, people are worried about tranquility disturbance. An ATV will do, side by side, will do the same noise as another motorized vehicle. Probably not a car, but another similar motorized vehicle. Don't compare this with a snowmobile because it's not the same thing at all. So the arrival of new users on your streets, we hear that concern that people say, I don't want the ATVs on our streets because it's okay. So we have mopeds, we have loaders that are traveling on the streets, we have other vehicles that allow to travel on the streets that are way more dangerous than a side-by-side or a normal ATV. And keep in mind, if you want to drive an ATV on the streets, on public streets, you need to have a legal age for that. Okay, that's 16 years of age. If you're 14, between 14 and 16, you need the class, I can never remember, I think it's a class 9 driver's permit. If you've lost your driver's license because of impaired driving, you're not allowed to drive an ATV on public streets. So you see, there are laws that apply to us that are from the Motor Vehicle Act. Okay, not only the Off-Road Vehicle Act, because we're on public roads. That's the difference. So the risks, property depreciation, I do hear that, and I apologize, but everywhere we go, we see an ATV trail besides the house. We stop and ask them, is this a burden? I'm saying a managed ATV trail, okay? Because some citizen will criticize the fact that there's an ATV trail driving by their house, and they say, we don't want the ATVs because of that trail. If it's not a managed trail, there's nothing we can do. We cannot ask the police to go police. We cannot apply our rules. There's nothing we can do because it's not a managed trail. But if you allow the ATVs on your streets, the streets that are mentioned in the bylaw then can be enforced by not only the RCMP, it can be enforced by all the enforcement officers under the umbrella of public safety, including fisheries and oceans, the wardens. We have our trail police. There's another one, the people, the guys that work for the way stations. they can also police, because they're all under the umbrella of public safety. So adopting new ways of sharing the roads, it's the same, we hear that everywhere we go. Those concerns are repeated from people in the hall, you'll hear them. And what we can answer to that is that we're a leisure. So it doesn't mean that we will invade the streets weekdays. We're a leisure, okay? We're mostly there the weekends, when the traffic is lower. It's not like if we would be asking to build a major building with 500 employees, that increases the traffic, okay? The traffic that we are asking to increase would represent, in some cases, maybe 200 bikes a day. It could be 1,000 bikes a day. If you see 1,000 bikes in one day, this means that it's an organized rally. So if it's an organized rally, usually we call on police officers to inform them that there will be many people on the streets. So this is something in our politics that we ask the clubs to do. If there's a rally, and we know that they will come to Salisbury in one day and then they have, let's say, 500 registrations, we know there will be traffic. So we inform the people of that event. But it's like 2 or 3 events a year.
2 or 3 events a year, and usually highest participation is 300.
Okay, so you see, what we're hoping the most here is to make the connection with the neighbor club. That's the most important thing. So if we go to the other slide, people laugh when I show them that picture, okay? So this was the first bike that came on the market in 1983 that was sold for $2,800. If we skip that slide, $58,000. So we went from $2,800 to $58,000. You will say this is the Cadillac. I will say no. We see those vehicles more and more on our trails. Why? Because they have access to outfitters. So they come and park in the cities, in the municipalities. We are building more and more trailheads within the municipality. So our tourists come in from, in this case, would be from Nova Scotia. They come and park here. They stay their vehicle there. They bring their bikes, their four-wheeler, and they hit the road into the mountains. And then they do mountain bike, okay? We see this more and more. This is why all our trails are multi-use, okay? So when you see this machine riding on your street, don't expect them to do wheelies, because they're people like you and me. My age, your age, they paid high price for this, so they don't intend to come and do yahoos on your streets, okay? Because they want to come back, and they want to be able to travel on the streets. Those won't be the ones to cause problems. This is just an example of a rally that we were talking a few seconds ago. This is what you might see. This is a gathering that was in St. John a few years ago. So this is the kind of gathering that you can see. And when all those people leave, they will take all the directions, but it doesn't mean they will be all at the same time on your streets, okay? And we ask of them, when they travel on the streets in a large amount of groups, to divide the group by tens. Okay, so when they travel on the streets, if they're blocking the traffic, the other cars have the right to pass them on the left, even if it's a full line. The same thing as Helen's Law, okay? And the signage, the signals are the same thing, but with the arm, because we don't have, just a few bikes have the blinkers, but 90% of them don't have. Next slide. So the steps are to identify and agree on the streets or route, which will be discussed, I think, later on tonight. Obtain the council's support. Go to a public consultation as it makes the council more comfortable in taking their decision. I think this is already planned for next week. Austin, is that it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, October 18th.
Okay.
So I guess I'm
Yeah. So to get the written motion from the council, as soon as we get that, then we send the application to Transportation and Infrastructure. If the streets belong to DTI, that's our responsibility, because since 2020, we can now include the provincial roads into the bylaw. Before that, we couldn't. We had to go through a highway usage permit, which would extend the process. But since we can avoid that, it goes quicker. So then we write the bylaw. That's done jointly, the federation with the administration. I think this is already done. Okay, so then we proceed, the first two readings, that's done by the council. Send a copy of first two readings of the bylaw to public safety. It's done jointly again with Quad NB and the council. Or the administration, go to a public consultation if it's still required, obtain a letter of confirmation from public safety. They will come back if there are modifications, or they will confirm if they need modifications, or if they need to approve it. Then proceed to the third reading and adoption of the bylaw. Then we have the 12 and 13 are really important because we never open the streets until we've had a public presentation. That's not a consultation, that's a presentation. We chat with people, we have the officers there, we explain them how they need to behave, what will be the rules, the bylaws, the bylaw was approved or on the streets. So we take an hour and a half with those people, and then the people in the hall. It can be enthusiasts, or it can be citizens from the municipality. So, but they're not there to complain because it's too late. The bylaw was approved. Okay, and then we gave about a month to work with the club to set the signage, the proper signage, and then we take care of everything. The only thing we ask then to the municipality is to the staff to pour in the posts with the signs. But in this case, there are not too many. So I think next step is the video. If you have questions, I'll let the video roll. This was taken in Bathurst, and that's an approved bylaw. This is a 10,000 cars a day bridge, and we've